Hello and welcome to Airheads, a not-so-serious look at the serious business of royal rumours, gossip and gowns. I'm Tom.
And I'm Maeve.
And we're really excited to bring this podcast to you. We've been talking about the royals for probably, 3 years now. We started watching The Crown when it came out, which was glamorous and scandalous, and it was really like the soap opera of the royals, which I hadn't seen before because I had the Queen's Speech kind of treatment when I was growing up. And
I think it was around that time as well that we first got word and sight of Meghan Markle, who would go on to become the Duchess of Sussex. And we just instantly were hooked by this C-list TV actress with a lifestyle blog, long live the Tig, and we started watching Suits. We bought lots of commemorative memorabilia. We went to Windsor.
We flew over to Windsor for the wedding because at that point...
The wedding to Prince Harry.
The wedding to Prince Harry, yeah. Because at that point, I was living in Ireland. I've been living in Ireland for about 8 years. And they had like quite a different relationship, obviously, with the royals.
I guess Ireland has a sort of complex, in some ways, like a love-hate relationship with the British royal family. For a long time, for a lot of people, the crown as an institution was a kind of uncomfortable reminder and a symbol of oppression for a lot of people. So any interest, especially fawning over the royals, was almost frowned upon. So I guess as a result, the people that are interested in the royals really treat them as celebrities, and we love all the pomp and pageantry and ceremony and the glamour, the soap opera side about it, which is definitely how you, Tom and I appreciate the royals.
And then we moved to London last year, and it was definitely suddenly very different when we talked to people about the royals, because there was like an assumption that if you were talking about the royals and kind of enjoying what they were up to, that you were like a big monarchist, or you were, very much a supporter of the crown as an institution, which, like, honestly, it doesn't factor into it for me.
So we wanted to find a middle ground, and we wanted to offer a middle ground with our podcast, somewhere where we could talk about the British royals without taking them all that seriously.
I think it's like inherently ridiculous to see the Queen go to a Sainsburys self-checkout.
I think that's probably the first order of business today. The Queen was busy this week. She had 4 outings in as many days, which is cracking work for a 93-year-old.
It's almost unheard of.
The reason she was there was the Sainsburys 150th anniversary. So I guess they thought the best way to mark this was to open a Sainsbury's pop-up shop in Covent Garden and invite the Queen along to give her a demonstration in self-service checkouts, and also show her a basket of the kind of foods people would have eaten like 150 years ago. And she was suitably unimpressed, I would say.
She said it was disgusting, didn't she?
And one of the people giving her the tour proffered a tin of fish paste, to which the Queen said, ghastly.
Ghastly, yeah, that is a much more Queen word than disgusting. And her next event the following day was the centenary celebrations for British Airways. She is probably the perfect person to go and visit this, because she has been on so many planes. She's, in fact, no stranger to planes, I believe it was reported, having gone to several overseas engagements.
Several? I think you mean 266 official visits in 116 countries. On her visit, however, she was visibly moved, supposedly, after being shown the handwritten ticket that she was issued for her British Airways flight to Jamaica shortly after coronation in 1953. She supposedly said, "Very nice."
Strong words. I love that.
There was a good report in the Mail where she was, they gave her this sort of scrapbook with all of her BA trips around the world, and she was perusing this display, and she said lots of different travels to different places, almost to herself. Although she added, having travelled so much, they tend to get a bit muddled.
Oh, I understand that.
At 93, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, at any age, I think, if you're doing that much travelling.
You know, Tom, it's summer garden party season, big time, at Buckingham Palace. And a couple of weeks ago, she handed over duties to Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles, and they handled it with aplomb. But this week, she was out in force, and she had her shades on. She had her turquoise outfit on. She had Prince William and Kate Middleton on hand to help her.
Perfect accessories. I loved her shades. I thought they were so good. It was kind of very Queen Does Matrix. I loved it.
I think, yeah, everyone looks better in shades, and the Queen proved that, certainly. But that wasn't the only garden that the Queen visited this week. She also made an appearance at the Chelsea Flower Show, which is a seriously high-profile and expensive garden show in London. She was visiting the whole thing, but especially the much hyped garden designed by Kate Middleton. And ahead of the Queen's visit, Kate Middleton, who, as we know, always has her hands on a clutch. She just wants something to keep her hands busy. And who can blame her? You know, we're not all Lady Gaga. We don't all know how to pose with our hands in photos. But she found a use for that clutch this week, didn't she, Tom?
Probably the best use of any bag in history. And I don't think that's overstating it. She went around picking up twigs and leaves, stray twigs and leaves, ahead of the Queen's visit, and hid them in her bag. And do you know what?
It paid off.
It paid off.
It paid off in spades.
Dividends.
And for her hard work, scrambling around on the ground, possibly on her hands and knees, in her floral Erdem maxi dress and wedges, espadrille wedges, clawing at loose twigs. What did she get for all her hard work, Tom? What was the Queen's response?
Well, she described the garden as tidy.
Tidy, yeah.
Just tidy.
I think in all the years of being part of the royal family, she has never gone as hard on any of her engagements as this garden. This garden, which is intended to spread a message to get kids outdoors more. It has a little bit of a mental health initiative behind it. But I think the most important thing for you and I, Tom, was the swing.
I love the swing.
I think, you know, it's been a week since we saw that picture of Kate on the swing, and I'm still not over it. I don't know if I'll ever enjoy any picture of Kate as much as the picture of her in jeans, work boots, and a shirt, just letting loose on a rope swing.
The Duchess of the Swingers?
The Queen of the Swingers, yeah. Yeah, I think it marked definitely a shift in Kate's promotional strategy, and I think this is something Tom and we've been talking about a lot in terms of how the royals are trying to stay relevant at a time when people are becoming a lot less deferent to the crown. And I think a lot of the loyalty people have to the royals is to the Queen because she's such a long-standing professional.
Oh yeah, like definitely I feel like I've heard like all my life people being like, oh, I'm not like, you know, that into the monarchy, but like, oh, the Queen's great, isn't she?
Yeah, and I don't think people, you know, as much as poor Prince Charles has been trying, I don't think people have that fondness for him in the same way. So it's really up to Kate and Prince William and their little fleet of children to sort of build up this fondness again and this loyalty to them. And Kate really went ham on it this week. She
cracked the code. Because the code is, we need to see the future king's toes.
And boy, did we. So Kate, so let's break it down. So we first had the sensational swing pick. The following day, we've got Prince George, future king, Princess Charlotte.
Great at waving.
Our little bloke, Prince Louis.
Baby Louis.
This 1-year-old who's fucking bolting down the deck, the whatever it was, with his hammy little legs and roaring at the camera. I loved it. Yeah. He loves the camera. There was those photos. There was also, on top of this, video from this event. And there are just so many things to talk about, okay? We've got, first of all, the really quite horrendous screeching noises, which, you know, I guess that makes them relatable. Their kids screech just like any other kids, but unpleasant to listen to say the least. Next up, a little darling, Princess Charlotte, approaches the swing. Tom, how does she react? And the third little nugget was a new nickname for Princess Charlotte. We have previously heard that Kate supposedly calls Charlotte Lottie, which is supremely posh nickname.
And honestly quite predictable.
This one, however, by Prince William was anything but, and I'm pretty much scarred by it. It is the most toffee nickname I've maybe ever heard.
Shall I say it? Do we have?
I'm not going to say it.
Mignonette.
Mignonette.
And what does mignonette mean?
Mignonette.
A small minion, I believe.
It's a French word. So mignon, which some of us may know from ordering filet mignon, means, well, it's supposed to mean like a little sweet or a little cute little thing.
So this sort of means sweetling.
Yes.
That's pretty gross. But I do wonder if, do you think that the royal children know what minions are? Like, all children know what minions are.
Oh yeah, there's no escaping them.
So maybe mignonette is like a sort of incredibly posh way of dealing with minions.
Banana.
Finally, in relation to the garden, we've got one remaining mystery, which is Kate's mysterious plasters.
I would say if there's any point to doing this podcast, it is to solve this total mystery.
We've got to get to the bottom of this. This was reported in several places, but we're going to quote the report in the Mirror, the Daily Mirror. Kate Middleton's fans have been left baffled after she appeared in public wearing a mystery plaster on her thumb once again. So this was, for those of you who remember Kate's outings by her outfit, like I do, it was when she was wearing the linen culottes and the broderie anglaise blouse and the trainers when she was climbing in the treehouse. And so she had this thumb plaster. And the Mirror adds, sightings of the unusual quirk have dated back years with little explanation as to the cause. So the last time we saw her with a plaster was in November, Tom.
God, so she barely had time to recover from one injury before something else happened.
And who knows what it was, but when asked about the plasters, Buckingham Palace told the Mirror, we have no comment on the plaster. Another report in the Express, they, like us, were dying to know what was going on. So since they weren't getting anything from the palace, they decided to consult a dermatologist. So they went to the British Skin Foundation, and a doctor told them, wearing plasters isn't that helpful because the skin doesn't breathe as well and it takes longer to heal. As a mum, you are washing your hands all the time, so it's important to moisturise regularly. Using moisturiser is the best way to heal a scratch.
Mums, unlike the rest of us, wash their hands all the time.
All the time.
Constantly. But what I want to know is what caused these injuries. Like, it makes sense that it's something gardening related, given that she's been doing this gardening every hour for the last few weeks.
Century.
I think, well, one, gloves. Gardening gloves. That's a thing. But also, if you're getting lots and lots of cuts, I would surmise that you are not very good at gardening, or you're not used to it.
You think she should give it up?
Well, her garden hasn't been judged. It doesn't get judged. So we will never actually know how well
she was
compared.
Conveniently exempt.
Yeah, which, you know, I mean, it looked nice.
Looking at this from a strategy point of view, this is hands-on Kate.
Oh, yeah.
This is Kate who gets her hands dirty. She doesn't need gloves. She just plunges right in, bare fingers, and suffers the consequences over and over again.
Do you think she has plasters in the clutch with the twigs?
I mean, I don't think there's anything in those clutches, but she should probably start keeping, like, disinfectant, a little first aid kit in there.
Yeah, definitely.
She's tremendously accident prone.
Although maybe somebody else's job is to carry a much bigger bag with sort of treatments for small injuries.
So she's got a bad guy.
I think she's got a bad guy.
You're the guy with the big bag of lip balm, Gary.
Unfortunately, Prince Charles tends to be the forgotten generation of the royals. He is constantly being overshadowed by his mum and his sons. I was particularly interested in his trip this week to Ireland with his wife, Camilla Parker Bowles. The two of them visited, this is their 5th visit to Ireland in 5 years. They love it there. I think particularly, you can't escape Brexit here, and politicians aren't doing much to mend the fractures between Northern Ireland, and the rest of Britain. So Prince Charles has taken it upon himself to try and ease those tensions by frequently dispatching himself and his wife to Ireland.
Well, he's aiming for all the counties, isn't he?
Yeah, so when he was in Wicklow this week, he said they were going to attempt to cover all the counties before we completely disintegrate, he said to the BBC. Do you think he's talking about himself and Camilla disintegrating?
Oh, yeah, I don't think he's talking about, like, the UK. That would be a much bigger statement.
I do think he's quite aware of his, obviously he's aware that he's not as popular as his kids, because he thanked the public for putting up with us yet again, which was endearing, I thought. What else did he say? I
think that's the kind of thing as well that he won't be able to say when he's king.
Oh yeah, no way.
Like, so he's kind of taking advantage of his, prince status to kind of make a few jokes.
Their visit, it wasn't on the front pages of the Irish newspapers. It didn't get a lot of coverage on the national news broadcasts on TV. But I think what's interesting to us is that he didn't say the word Brexit at all. But he did say that his visit was so special because it allowed them to celebrate and remind ourselves of those vital links between us that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years. Whatever happens, the great thing is to go on to understand how much we mean to one another. That was on the BBC.
And, like, speaking of meaning a lot to each other, they managed to find... Is this possibly the only child in Ireland who cares about the royals?
A 6th class kid, so he's only 12, was totally overcome by his meeting with Prince Charles.
He said, "I'll never wash my hand again. I was rattling and my legs went from under me. I thought I was going to faint." I can barely imagine somebody in the UK having that reaction to meeting Charles.
I'm just so happy for that little kid, that he was so thrilled by his meeting with Charles. And I'm sure Charles was so moved that this kid seemed so happy to meet him.
He would be.
So as well as meeting kids, Camilla did a little solo venture. So typical, Irish women of her age would do the exact same thing. She went to Avoca. Avoca is like kind of a swish Irish store where you can get nice, like, artisanal foods and skincare and candles and all, but the big draw is it's a mill. It's Avoca Woolen Mills. So it's the blankets, the scarves, throws, all that good stuff. And Camilla was pretty thrilled. So according to the Irish Times, as she was leaving, you could see the boot of her car was full of Avoca bags. She stocked up. Okay, I think now we should talk about our quotes of the week, because the royals were unusually chatty this week.
Well, mine is from the Queen at the 150-year-old Sainsburys talked to the manager, and her kind of first response to the self-service checkout was, "And you can't trick it. You can't cheat then." Which I think is just lovely.
And a very astute question. Okay, I love that one. I think it's great. But I would have to say possibly bettered by Kate. Surrounded by kids, school kids, they're all having a great time. They can't wait to have their toasted marshmallows. Kate had this to say: I love the smell of the smoke. It's great, isn't it?
Is it?
So there were rumours when those topless pictures of Kate came out that I haven't looked at, and you know, nobody should, but supposedly she was smoking in the pictures. So that could explain why she so loves the smell of smoke. She just can't get enough of it.
You think that she smoked because she wanted to just smell the smoke because she loves the smell of smoke? Or do you think that the smell of smoke now reminds her of a time when she could smoke?
I think she should just get a tobacco candle and move on with her life.
For your information, you have to be taking great big lung bucketfuls to make any difference. Not little wasp breath. No.
Now we should talk about our outfits of the week.
Yeah, I think we're going to call this segment Fit for a King, Fit for a Queen. So each week we're going to pick the look of the week. It doesn't have to be like the most stylish look. It's just the
Most notable.
Yeah.
Our favourite. It's personal, it's subjective.
And I think this week, again, we have different ones.
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Kate again because, you know, Kate gave us 5 outfits in 4 days, which is pretty stellar wardrobe work. And I would say my Fit for a Queen is Kate's Alexander McQueen coat dress at the Buckingham Palace garden party. This was a pastel pink coat dress with a pleated skirt, and she had a pink little fascinator hat and nude suede cords, classic Kate. I think this is quintessential Kate Middleton. This is the Kate Middleton costume. It is emblematic of all of her style signatures, and she was just in her element here, and that makes it the best for me.
Am I right in thinking as well that she wore... This was after the garden?
Yeah.
So she'd given us a lot of different looks, a lot of kind of casual Kate looks, which people really liked. So it was quite nice to then end by reminding people of the classic Kate.
What about you?
My outfit for the week was Camilla, Parker Bowles, at Avoca, because I think this outfit was stunning. A stunning grey outfit. Okay, maybe stunning is a little heavy.
You were stunned.
But I was in a way, because it looks like she's on Star Trek. She has a sort of silvery grey. It's quite futuristic looking. In a lot of the photos, she looks like she's just beamed off the ship and is, you know, interacting with the people. And in a way, that's what she did do. But she also gave a nod, I think, to the end of Game of Thrones, because she wore this grey colour, very Sansa. Everyone was talking about that dress. And the sort of cut of it with the 2 sort of not quite lapels almost touching in the middle. That's the kind of thing we've seen on Joffrey in the past. Sometimes Cersei. It was great. It did everything for me. It was very of the moment, I thought.
I think we're going to wrap things up by talking about our MVPs of the week. We're going to call this the first in line. So, Tom, who's your first in line?
My first in line this week is Kate, because she has clearly put in the effort. She has been turning out look after look, Instagram post after Instagram post, the videos, this kind of sort of much more candid look at her and the kids and Will.
She's been on the ground literally picking up the twigs. I would have to agree with you there. I think she's my MVP, my first in line this week too. I think there's a few dimensions to this. I think on one hand, there's the family aspect. I think, you know, there have been rumours and allegations of unhappiness in the Kate and Will marriage in the last few months, and Kate really went far in trying to put paid to those with the family photo shoot this week.
It was more than just a photo shoot, wasn't it? Because it was, you got to see them interacting with each other. It was
Yeah,
like
with the videos too.
You know, it was really showing like happy.
Yeah, and I think it was this real portrait of idealized domesticity that's meant to be very relatable, but is obviously like hugely staged.
Yeah.
Which I think ties into what I would think of as the second aspect of this, which is like the social media side of it. And, you know, the conspiracy theorist in us might wonder if the sudden surge in social output by Kensington Royal has anything to do with the emergence of Sussex Royal. Kate and William may possibly be overtaken in followers by Harry and Meghan. That seemed to be the case last week, but then this week
they pulled ahead again. I mean, the thing with Instagram is it doesn't take into account the divine right that you know, sets out the line of succession. It's just about followers and likes, so it's a whole new like landscape for them to navigate, and I think that Kate has shown that she is definitely in the game.
We've got the white borders, we've got multiple posts from a single event, we've got carousels, we've got a lot longer captions, we've got emojis in captions. There's a lot going on. The third aspect of this, I think, has to do with Kate's own profile. And there's been a lot of talk about Kate feeling threatened by Meghan and Kate wanting to do a solo project separate from Prince William. And this garden, she has been so passionate about. Like, have we ever seen her as excited about anything she's worked on?
No,
ever?
I don't think so. Like this, I mean, and it has worked out for her. Like you said, there were like these big queues, everyone's talking about her, everyone's kind of interested to see what she's done, what she's created. She
got a huge amount of coverage for this, and I think it's made her look good in the eyes of the Queen too.
Tidy.
Certainly. And on top of that, we're reminded that she's going to be Queen someday, and she is working hard to establish her profile as future Queen. I think that's about it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening. Please come back and join us next week when we'll have a lot to talk about. The Trumps are coming. We'll be talking about the new Lifetime movie about the first year in Meghan and Harry's marriage. And we'll also tell you all about our trip to Frogmore House and Gardens, which is where Meghan and Harry are living with little baby Archie.
If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find us at AirheadsPod on Instagram. You can direct message us if there's something you want us to talk about, or let us know how you thought we did. Maeve, first episode, how do you think we did?
How many marks out of 10 would you give it? 10 being the highest.
20.
20 out of 10. Okay, that's pretty good.
20.
I think Mummy's done well.